beautiful Sonatina in A by Kuhlau. This is a really inspiring piece to give to your pupils, and indeed he actually wrote this to motivate his own students. And I think you can really tell because it's full of life, the theme of Allegro con spirito, full of character, and I could just imagine this motivating any pupil and yourself really, just to play. So I really recommend, before learning this Sonatina, to study the duet for four hands first. So this is the Sonatina in G major, and I'll show you a little bit because I think it has remarkable similarities to the Sonatina in A. It has a really beautiful theme, and I think it's a really good way to get your pupils to internalise this style before they even begin learning their piece. So you can work on the main principles of playing this really stylistically. So for example, keeping a steady tempo, really crisp articulation, beautiful phrases and good balance between the hands, and many more features. It's very good for oral skills as well. So first of all, the way to approach this piece, I would definitely look at the structure with your pupils, so map this out. For example, this is in a sort of simplified sonata form, but working out where the sections are and perhaps labelling them using numbers or letters. And then also, it would be really good, I think, in advance to work out the different keys and how they relate to the tonic key of A major, and perhaps even writing some of the harmony in. And this is going to help when you look at texture and phrasing and all of those things later on. First of all, I think it's a good idea to work with the metronome. So rather than making your beat sort of in 4 in a bar, you could subdivide this into quavers, so get your pupil to find a suitable speed. And it does sound a little bit chaotic at first, but it's a very good exercise to work out the rhythm. So you can play it slowly like this. Very helpful to help place those dotted rhythms and the double dotted rhythms as well, which can be really tricky at times. So also you've got this grace note in bar 6, and I play this slightly before the beat. And if you use the metronome, it can really help with the timing of this. Though it is a cadence, and you do have a little bit more room at the cadence point there. So the next thing you could say to your pupil is, why did you learn all of those scales and broken chords? Why did you do all of that work? Well, of course, it was in preparation for learning your Kuhlau. And there's lots of opportunities here to work on formula scales, broken chords. For example, in bar 22, we have a broken chord of E major here, and hopefully you will have identified this already in your homework. And you could keep going like that. And then a good idea is to play this in dotted rhythms, and this will help develop the even fingerwork which is needed if you do it in lots of different rhythms like this. And then you could also reverse the rhythm. And this can be applied to anywhere with semiquavers. It's a really good way to help get the lightness of touch. In the next bar, so in bar 23, there is a dominant seventh, so and something you might like to try is doing your broken chord ascending. And you could do it as a sort of medley like that. And what that's going to help with is getting the two hand positions. So the E major broken chord on the way up, so sort of, it's an open hand position, but it's still slightly closed. But on the way down in the dominant seventh, you've got that fourth finger, that sort of more stretched hand position, and it's getting the feeling between the two. One of the things I think is really useful to talk about is different types of staccato. And this of course goes with trying to create crisp articulation. So for example, in bar 12, we have the mixture of slur and staccato, so here. And it might be a good idea to explore some flick staccato. You could do a scale. And imagine, tell your people that there's a bit of dust on the key, and just to kind of imagine flicking that dust off. So you're coming off the note really, really quickly. Later on, just before the key change into A minor, you have this. It's a different kind of staccato. So it's kind of more wrist-based. You could do this in your scales as well. And get your people to imagine bouncing a ball. You can bounce a big ball and a small one. And you can also look at slurs as well. There's lots of slurring detail here. Actually, in the first bar, we've got this slur. And it's quite strong because it's forte, but you can lean on the first note. And then, so drop your wrist and then come off. So the second note is lighter. And here it suggests to change the fingers, which is a good idea so that it's nice and crisp and you can hear that repeated note there. Now, the next bit we're going to look at is just this very unusual key change into A minor, which is the sub-mediant key. And actually there's some influence from Beethoven here, as this is a key change he made in his hammer clavier. So very unusual, but it has this rather haunting melody, so. And you could look at the texture in this section. So does the people actually know how to describe the texture of their own piece? This is really going to help with the oral as well. So we're looking at the melody. And there's these different layers. So you have the pedal note here on A. And you could actually get your people to play this in parts like this. So it means they're really listening to this bass line and also able to focus on the articulation in the right hand as well. But we also have this tenor line, so. And it might be a good idea to play the melody with the tenor line alone, like this. And again, it helps your people to hear these layers of sound in the texture. Just for a learning, from a learning perspective, you could get your people to just do the thumb notes. So. thumb really nice and light, so that repeated sort of action with the thumb. And looking at the phrasing, so we've got these really beautiful question and answer phrases. So for example, this it's a bit like a question, then we've got the answer, then the question, and then it kind of goes into the minor. And I think thinking of all these question and answer phrases can really help know how to shape the music. I always like to say to my pupils, if you look at the phrase mark, it starts off sort of thinner looking and thinner at the end and grows towards the middle. So for example, if you do this opening phrase, so you're sort of working towards the middle like a sort of wave, and that gives a clue on how to shape it if the composer hasn't written any clue already. Also, the cadences can really help you with this. So I'm going to play for you just the last section, and you can hear the final grand cadence. And it starts, it's a little bit like a recapitulation of the original theme.